listening to The Cooler Ring, a podcast made for manufacturing marketers. Here are Carmen Perry and Jeff White.
Welcome to The Cooler Ring, a podcast for manufacturing marketers brought to you by Cooler Partners. My name is Jeff White, and joining me today is Carmen Perry. Carmen, how you doing, mate?
All is well, and looking forward to another great edition of the Cooler Ring podcast today.
Yeah, no, me too. And it's an interesting kind of topic, this notion of personality within brands and kind of how you bring that to life, and especially within B2B manufacturing.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, and especially as we think about B2B manufacturers' social media presence, and it's not always an area where folks are willing to take risks, or they're not willing to maybe be themselves. They feel like they have to speak in a very corporate voice often in those platforms for whatever reason. But we all know that, of course, if we look at LinkedIn, it's the personal pages that have traction, not corporate pages. And I think that is indicative of social media writ large, and that it's the personal that drives connection and engagement. And I'm excited for today's guest to shine a light on that and how she brings that to life.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that you put it that way, because even as you say with LinkedIn, it's not just that people prefer the personal side of things, is that even algorithmically you are penalized if you only use a corporate brand kind of account.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Ways. Yeah. Very cool. Good insight. So joining us today is Tasha Jones. Tasha is the marketing director at Aero Packaging Solutions. Welcome to the Cooler Ring, Tasha.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very honored to be invited on the show.
Tasha, it's awesome to have you on the show, and we're honored to have you. I wonder, can you introduce our listeners just briefly to Aero Packaging? What do you all do?
So I, as the director of marketing, Aero Packaging specializes in innovative packaging solutions that not only protect and preserve your products, but also enhance market appeal. I oversee the marketing strategies, ensuring effective communication of our brand value and driving customer engagement across various channels. I also work hand in hand with vendors and kind of a full stack marketer, so to speak. We work with top brand name companies in the Midwest, from automotive, medical, beauty brands, and more.
Very cool. And just so I'm clear, are you packaging the product itself, or the package that the product goes in, if you will, for transport, or maybe all of the above?
Actually, we just started doing co-packing too. So we're converters. So we actually create the boxes, create the racks, any type of packaging that you may need. But recently started co-packing. So we do have customers that will send us their product. We will package those for them and ship them out for them.
And Tasha, how did you end up there? Tell us a bit about your background and yeah.
Yeah, so I am a little all over the place. I've done B2C. I was in sales for a long time in the beauty industry. And then I moved into commercial real estate, which was a totally different beast, but in a way, very much B2B, because we worked with in retail. And so we were selling properties in the retail industry. I moved from commercial real estate into manufacturing, and so it brought me here. And it's really a good fit, because I, like the show topic explains, I'm big on having our own voice, and I feel like the manufacturing industry needs people to stand out, to be seen. So it was a perfect fit for me to come here to be able to have kind of full reign of that type of marketing.
Now, was Aero without a marketer before you arrived, or are you kind of joining a team?
So they previously had someone in the role for marketing, and they had moved on. So they had hired a contract company. And while they were absolutely essential to keep marketing going, it was more of a just keeping it going. So they saw that they needed more hands-on, where they couldn't get that outside the company. They wanted somebody in the office, seeing the day-to-day, being able to capture what's going on regularly, because that's what people need to see, is what's happening week to week, that type of marketing. So yes, we did have an external contract company for a while, about 5 years before me.
And that really highlights that contrast that we're starting to kind of dig into here, isn't it? Is the notion of, the external firm and that's doing that work, and it's not saying that they were doing bad work by any stretch, but they're approaching it from a point of view of a polished corporate voice, and maybe some might consider it a bit stale. Which, there's an awful lot of B2B manufacturing Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts and YouTube accounts and on that. It checks every box that I just mentioned. It's uh, and as you talk about bringing a more personal level to it, how much of that is driven by your sales background? And that, I mean, it would seem to me that if you have that personal experience of the hand-to-hand combat, if you will, of sales, and the personal relationship building that's required for that, does that really kind of is that a formative piece of the puzzle that kind of shapes your worldview here?
I think so. I've worked in B2C for a long time, and to be able to see how the customers react to a product, a package in general, you really don't get that working in a B2B industry, but you can see firsthand what is moving them to like a product. So I feel like that has sales has really enhanced my marketing experiences, because I was in the trenches. I saw what motivated people. And sales and marketing, I mean, although they tend to work separate from one another, they very much need to work together to do full circle. And I feel like my experience has definitely helped.
What did you when you came to Arrow, what did you kind of find? Like, what were you working with? Carmen described it a bit in your last question, but I'm wondering kind of like what was in place, and what were you looking at changing first?
So you got to do the research on the industry, like what's working for everybody. And if you've got all these followers, what are they doing right? And I did a ton of research, like what do their websites look like? What are they putting out regularly for social media? If I'm getting emails, newsletters from them, what are those looking like? I'm just trying to gauge. And I'm seeing consistently the same type of posts and information, and it's fine, but it's all the same. And when I looked at our logo and I look at everyone else's logo, I'm like, we're just so colorful and fun and individualistic. I feel like that needed to be expressed. And going through those websites and seeing a catalog style look and feel felt daunting as a customer looking at it. And I loved that, as they had built out our website in a way that it was a conversation. And I think that is important when you're trying to reach people. They don't want to get on and be overwhelmed immediately. There's already a ton of pages to battle. So I thought I need to lead with that. I need to think of ways for marketing to have a conversation.
So I want to kind of understand that a bit more and kind of maybe dive into some examples or how you're thinking about certain platforms or what have you, to try to understand the shift that's at play. I guess how have you brought those personal touches to online platforms? These kind of often the kind of personal touches that maybe occur in a sales meeting or face to face.
One thing I noticed on social media was there's a lot of accolades, which we love that. We love to celebrate each other. And you're going to find the posts online that get the most interactions are those awards, birthdays, anniversaries. Everybody loves that. But everybody's doing that. And if you do that all the time, it's, oh, there's another one, scroll, scroll, scroll. At what point do you get on LinkedIn now and you're like, oh, there's another birthday? Do you go and you say happy birthday every time? Well, they better be somebody that you're interested in, or you're probably going to skip it. So I was thinking, if we're going to send messages about what we're doing, humanizing us, it needs to be kind of how we are in the office. So, for example, our customer service is incredible. They're so hands-on. They take care of the customer. But when you walk into the office, there's a Gatling gun, a Nerf Gatling gun. They play and they have fun. They all have Nerf guns at their desks. It's just a culture. And if we're going to have that kind of fun culture, why not share it with the masses? Because yes, we're serious when it comes to business. And yes, we're going to get the work done for you. But you have to see too that we're human. So I try in my marketing to convey that. And another thing that I use to convey that is testimonials. If we're hearing something from a customer and if they're happy to allow us to share, I want to post about that because people are, what's in it for me, right? If I'm going to look online, I need something to relate to what I need. And oh, there's a testimonial. Let me see what this has to say. And if it's engaging, they're going to read it and then they're going to act. And that's what we need. So I'm looking for all these ways that we can show what we're doing in behind the scenes without obviously being too much, but really humanizing. That's the one word. Human interest is so important. Those anniversaries and birthdays are important. I think it's the way that you're sharing.
You kind of hinted a few times, or almost in some cases qualified a few sentences there by kind of saying, not too much, or kind of, well, but we're still serious in business. And I think that that's pointing to something. I mean, I think as businesses as organizations try to display a bit more emotion and try to connect with folks in a more human way. Um, uh, I think sometimes there can be that concern that it doesn't decode as serious as they may like. Have you faced that concern? Have you had some of the folks that maybe that you report into or work with say, maybe we need to be a bit more serious here?
Not yet. I haven't experienced that. I don't think I will because I do enough of the fun and humanized posting, but I also do plenty of the thought leadership stuff too. Because I can't trust that you're going to do a good job in business if all you're doing is showing me your Nerf darts. You can show me that you know what you're talking about. And I'm also seeing a post come through that you had some kind of event last week and shared some really fun things about that. Or a recent one that was super popular. Well, those testimonials, you cannot make that up. Like that's real and raw, and people love to see, like, how are you changing lives? So not only am I doing the fun, but I'm doing the real, and then I'm also doing the thought leadership teaching, like, here's what you need to know about packaging, here's what we can do to make sure you're getting that experience, just keeping a good balance.
And does that all total up to a pretty significantly more volume of posting on the various channels than maybe what was happening prior?
Absolutely, that completely changed because I'm here. I can get more content. I have all this access to our production area, all of our office people, so I can definitely have more hands-on and have more content. I am very strategic where I know exactly what types of posts I'm wanting to put out there, and then I schedule them strategically so that I know certain days a week are getting this type of posts. And um, with social posting, you absolutely need to stay present, and you're going to find the algorithm's going to like you better if you're consistently posting. And I utilize that. I make sure every week it's where we have it all set up. I'm actually almost scheduled out to the end of the year. And I just start with an idea, build out so many pieces at once, and then make sure it's all scattered about. And then when I get in the moment, like, this is what's happening and it's a really good piece, I'll just move something that's kind of templated and put in the more human interest piece. And but yeah, just being consistent and having a plan around the content that you're wanting to share, and then getting it on the calendar, being very intentional.
You mentioned that you've been working with your customer service team and kind of documenting some of their, you know, the personal side of how they interact as part of that. Have you also kind of delved into more of the engineering side or the C-suite and kind of brought them to life as well? Have they kind of begun to take on some of the kinds of things that you're doing, but from a more on their side of things?
Absolutely. I'm work hand in hand with the president. So he and I are always talking about the types of posts that are going out. I want to make sure that it makes sense for our brand, but also that he's comfortable with what I'm posting. So we're always in communication. I actually had 5 new videos created just going over the different aspects of the business. And um, there's one called coming out soon called Beyond the Box. And then there's one called Behind the Box. And the behind the box video is going to be all about the office, who's involved, and how we do our day to day. So I'm constantly trying to keep involvement with directors, with executive management, etc. In March, we did a March Madness kind of theme, but it was Candy Box Challenge. And I had the sales guys go head to head building candy boxes, which are these tiny boxes that they fill with candy and take to their sales calls. Everybody loves the candy boxes around here. Like you'll go to offices, they'll have them on their desks. And so that drew a lot of attention because, first of all, you know your salesperson, you have a relationship with them. It's kind of cool to see them having fun on a video. And then I'd have the executives come in and watch and cheer them on. And it was very interactive. And I think that brought in a lot of more following and more connections.
I want to kind of um, ask about that. You kind of hinted at obviously greater volume of posting, more frequency and more consistency. That you're pleasing the various algorithms on whatever channel we're talking about, and that can drive reach and follower gain and things of that sort. And that's all fine and great, but it's not always more buyers. So I am curious: have you found some connections between this additional activity and not just some additional engagement, but additional engagement with target accounts? Have you seen it kind of manifest at that target account level?
Absolutely. I feel from conversations I've had with the team, they're very happy with the amount of visibility. They're seeing, we're getting phone calls from the ads, from the posts, from our web presence. And I believe that just really staying on top of keeping your website up to date with all of the SEO, et cetera, keeping that constant visibility on social media. And when I'm talking about social media, I'm talking about all the places you feel your company is getting any kind of traction. Personally, B2B, I think we all know, is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a virtual golf course. You go in there and you're basically having a conversation on all these posts, talking just like you would on the golf course. And the more you're interacting and the more you're taking part, the more LinkedIn likes you and you're getting pushed up and they're seeing your posts a lot more. I'm doing a lot of coaching of my team, having them participate because that really helps. I think that in general, just keeping on top of whichever platform is important to you is going to do wonderful things for your marketing.
How do you approach the, because obviously, for that more technical content and the thought leadership content, that takes a bit more effort to produce potentially than some of the more personality driven content that you're putting out there. How are you approaching not just the planning of it, but the execution and distribution of that, like carving it up? Are you just looking to get a little bit into the tactics of production, I guess, and understand a bit about your workflow there?
I try to keep when I'm looking at my customers who we're talking to, I try to think of what kind of questions they have. And then I use that and I build it out, such as historical icons in manufacturing. That isn't really necessarily a sale in itself, but a lot of people want to see that, oh my gosh, Rosie the Riveter, or so there's some really great icons that you don't even think about or hear about, and then posting something about that, using that information in a blog, and then taking that and creating multiple posts over it. You're getting people sharing content that's not even, I had shared a design icon, and somebody in design in Colorado shared it. It's amazing how small the world it is with social media. But the idea would be to find the questions that the customers are asking and use that to answer those questions via posts. So anytime I will see or hear from a sales team member stuff, that questions, I'm in a meeting every single day. We have a meeting every day with the head of of departments, talking about what's going on with orders, and that meeting is so great for content. I really sit there and take notes, and I hear things over and over, and I'm like, okay, that's something I need to address, or that's something I need to add into my week to week. So for me, marketing is just taking one topic and saying it over and over and over 1,000 times, 1,000 different ways. And so I'm always looking for a different angle on that type of question, kind of thing. So I keep pretty steady with content.
I'd be curious. You mentioned LinkedIn and the golf course of LinkedIn, and of course in B2B. I think a lot of people look to LinkedIn as a bit of a obvious choice, although an awful lot of people don't make particularly good use of it or take advantage. But
Yeah.
um, uh, is there any social platform out there, as tool set that you're either using or interested in bringing to bear that you think would be kind of more surprising in the B2B space? Is there anything that you're seeing?
I don't let anything sleep. So I'm always posting on all platforms, even if I'm not really seeing traction on them. So, like Instagram, it's a visual space. I need to be able to show stuff that people can see and, like, oh, I need to stop and read this. Um, that one is newer, and it really wasn't pushed in the previous with the previous marketing. So I've definitely been any opportunity to do some type of graphic, some type of image, I'm always adding in there. Um, and then Facebook, you can't avoid Facebook. Everybody's there. You're all going there some point in your day. And if I'm not having some type of visibility there, then I'm missing out. So LinkedIn absolutely is the focus, but I don't let any social media pass me by. If I have opportunity, I'm going to post there.
Are you leveraging any tools to help you manage the different networks all at once?
I very much love Canva. I know that's all about design, but they have a scheduler, which makes it super simple. And I think it's highly intuitive. I'm an Adobe girl, so all my design work is usually on Photoshop and InDesign and Illustrator. But if I'm in a hurry, which I'm blasting out 25 posts in like an hour, it's not as easy on the old Photoshop. So I use that Canva, and Canva's getting really interesting, adding in AI for images. Some of the stuff blows my mind, that the stuff that they're allowing, and the price is so good. So all those marketers out there that are looking for a way to get some graphic design in without having to hire, learn some Canva. It's where it's at.
The graphic designer though in Jeff Soul has to be dead a little bit hearing that. But.
Hey man, I'm an old Quark Express guy. Like I go way back.
Oh my gosh. No judgment, no judgment. I was self-taught Adobe. I self-taught myself InDesign and Photoshop in 2 months because I was desperate to get the knowledge, and told the job that I knew how to use it. So thank goodness for LinkedIn Learning. But I understand. I'm very picky, and I think at times Canva can be just it just doesn't want to give me the exact spacing, etc. But in a pinch, and a lot of people really don't have that kind of graphic knowledge, so we got to let them have it.
Yeah, and you know what? As much as it pains me to say so, in a lot of ways, I think the old school of, $1,000 a month Adobe platforms, or, even more than that when we used to have to buy it as a standalone package that came out once a year. you know, Tools like Canva and Figma and other things like that have really democratized access to decent design tools that, in the hands of somebody who kind of knows what they're doing, can be even better, but in the hands of somebody who, perhaps has never experienced a professional platform, you can actually do some pretty good stuff and keep things consistent. And yeah, but it's hard to argue against, I guess. Especially
I mean, have you ever tried moving an image and a text box in Word? It ain't fun. You got to take with what you got. I think I'd take the $14 subscription.
There must be a video on YouTube somewhere of like just showing a compilation of people trying to move image and text boxes in Word and beating their head against the desk.
Why is it creating a new page every time?
I don't need that many pages.
Tasha, as we draw this conversation to a close, I wonder what bit of parting advice you might give to marketer just starting into the manufacturing side of things, but perhaps has had some exposure to marketing and B2C or what have you, like you had. Any kind of any tips you might give them as they embark on a B2B manufacturing marketing career?
Absolutely. I got very lucky in that my boss is way cool, and he definitely gives me a lot of creative freedom. But don't be afraid to ask, and don't be afraid to put some things together and see what what your executive management might say. I think that we get comfortable with status quo, and we're never going to move the needle that way. So trying some new things, seeing what works. Really, the KPIs tell you everything. If this post is just hitting it out of the park, then you need to focus on that. So try some things, see what works. If anything, you can delete it later. I mean, can you delete anything from the internet? But take it off your feed. But try, don't keep yourself in the box. I really try to get out there and try new things, see what can work to get attention, because I'm telling you, in this day and age, and I'm up there in age, so I've been there since back in the day when Facebook, you had to have a school account to have a Facebook account. It's changing. People don't want to just see ads. They want to see humans. And to do that, you've got to try new things and be different. And you got to do that in manufacturing, I think.
Tasha, it's been wonderful having you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, and I think that was great advice too. And if we're dating ourselves by the software we used, I learned Photoshop in version 1.
Oh, wow.
1993.
That's amazing.
Is that like you should? If this is a video podcast, I think you should look like Gandalf as you say that.
Yeah, exactly. I would. I just can't grow any hair. So. Thanks again, Tasha.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for listening to The Cooler Ring with Carmen Perry and Jeff White. Don't miss a single manufacturing marketing insight. Subscribe now at KulaPartners.com/The Cooler Ring. That's KULAPartners.com/The Cooler Ring.